Well, this is the Zero Technique Football Podcast, take 2. Oh, the joys of live streaming podcasts. It's a wonder we ever get this thing done. Once again, welcome to the Zero Technique Football Podcast. I'm your co-host, Ryan Stern. Join with me, as always, Derek Mountain. How's it going, Derek?
Ryan, I don't know what you're talking about. We're starting at 9. We're all good. Yeah, we're good. No technical issues. Business as usual. We're good.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what we were expecting all along. All right. So we are going to be continuing with our off-season outlook for the NFL teams. We're going to look at teams drafting 7 through 12. Today, we're going to take a look at their cap issue, their upcoming free agents, who they may go after in free agency, and some directions that they're going to go in the draft. At the end of the show, Derek and I are going to do a little mock draft with the top 12. Going to alternate picks. I'll take the odd number picks. Derek will take the even number picks. This way I get the Giants and he gets the Eagles. I'm sure we're not going to screw either of those up.
Expect chaos.
Yeah. But we're obviously going to open up with a little bit of news before we get into these teams. And as we were saying last week, we were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and what they were going to eventually do with Carson Wentz. And I guess we willed that trade into existence because the very next day they trade Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts for a bag of footballs and a roll of tape.
Oh my God. Come on, man. That's like, that was as good as that package was going to get, right?
You look at, and I know that Matthew Stafford has obviously accomplished more in his career than Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is a couple years younger. He did have that one season where he was on his way to an MVP before the injury, and he is he really? I mean, Matthew Stafford fetched 2 firsts, a starting quarterback, and a third. They get a third and a second that could become a first, depending on the amount of snaps that he takes or if they make the playoffs. So, this was a number 2 overall pick 5 years ago.
Yeah, but here, the way I look at it, especially if you want to bring in that Lions trade, like it could be argued that the Lions got another first because they took on Goff's contract, and that's how low the Rams thought of Goff. McVay obviously was not a very big fan of him. So, to me, I just think it's different. Like the way the Rams are structured, they want to win now. Stafford's going to give him that opportunity. With Wentz, it's a project. You have to build him back up and repair him. And I think about any other destination, I would have said, why are they even trying here? But with the Colts, they have the infrastructure. They have top 5 O-line. They need to figure out left tackle, but they have a top 5 O-line. They have a ton of cap space. They keep their first. They keep their second this year. It's probable that they give up their first next year, but if he gets fixed under Frank Reich, the guy who maximized him, then it's a great trade. And if it doesn't work out, you cut him in 2022 and you move on. To me, I think it's a great trade for the Colts and for the Eagles. Sunk cost, kind of take your medicine. That's kind of what this offseason has to be for the Eagles, and get what you can. Next season, hopefully they have 2 first-round picks. It's looking like they'll have 2 first-round picks if Wentz can stay upright. So, something to look forward to, I guess, as an Eagles fan.
And you look at it, and obviously if the Colts get what they are expecting out of Carson Wentz, it's going to be a first-round pick next year. And it's going to be a later pick in the round, like I said, if they end up getting what they are expecting out of Carson Wentz.
Mm-hmm.
I still think Carson Wentz has not only a lot to prove, but I think he's a lot better than what he's shown over the past couple of years. The offensive line has not done a great job protecting him, especially last year. And now he gets to go to an offensive line that's going to keep him upright for the majority of the time. They still have a ton of cap room that they can maybe go after someone like a Trent Williams. Or maybe they look to trade up and get into a position to take a Raeshawn Slater, someone like that in the draft. I think they are, and they've got a good young group of pass catchers, assuming they bring back someone like Zach Pascal. I think the world of Michael Pittman Jr. There are some that don't think he's ready to be a number one. I think with Carson Wentz that he can take over a number one spot, and they still can go after and sign a number three wide receiver that can produce for them this year. And also, this year's draft is so deep in terms of the wide receivers. They can get someone.
That was the point I was going to make.
Someone in that fourth, fifth round range that can jump into the number three, number four spot in that pass catching group. So I think they are in great position to make a run next year.
Yeah, what a great year to need a tackle and a receiver, as you just said, both really deep in the draft.
Yeah.
They keep their first and their second. They could even move back, something Ballard likes to do if maybe a couple of those tackles are on the board. They get Amon-Ra St. Brown in the second round, a Kadarius Toney in the second round, or even wait third, fourth round a receiver, whatever they want to do. They can spend that money in free agency however they want. Going for a tier one guy like Galladay, maybe going for a tier two guy like Corey Davis, something like that. The options are endless here, and you hit the nail right on the head with Carson. I mean, I think he's got a ton of juice left. I just think he was broken. I think he was completely rattled in Philly. He should not be dropping back 50 times a game, which is what he was doing with a makeshift offensive line, receivers that can't separate. Frank Reich's going to move the pocket a lot for him, a ton of play action. A lot of stuff moving the pocket, sprinting out, making it a lot easier for him, simplifying it a lot. And to me, I mean, he's not going to be nearly as efficient as Phillip Rivers, but he's a way better vertical thrower. He is going to open up an array of plays like RPOs, sprint outs, stuff that Rivers just can't do. I still think you get the unforced errors that comes with Wentz's game. He's reckless with the ball. He fumbles a lot. He had a lot of interceptions last year. That was uncharacteristic of him, but that's kind of the gunslinger in him. You're going to get a lot of big plays too. And with that supporting cast, I agree with you. I think it's a great place for him to resurrect his career.
And you hit the nail on the head. You mentioned one name. It's Frank Reich. Look at who was running the offense the year that he had his MVP caliber season. It was Frank Reich. And he hasn't been the same since Frank Reich took over the job in Indianapolis. I personally think it's a match made in heaven.
John Taylor's going to go off next year. I mean, he's great this year, but I think with Wentz, some zone read stuff, whoo, baby, that could be good.
All right, so let's get into the offseason outlook for teams 7 through 12, so we can finish off with our mock draft at the end of the show. Number 7, the Detroit Lions.
They are a mess. Oh man!
Last week we were talking about teams like the Falcons and the Eagles. At least the Falcons and Eagles have some sort of playmaker on the team that you can rest your laurels on. With the Falcons, you have the Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, that you can rely on offense. With the Eagles, you have the upside of a Jalen Hurts. You have guys that may be expendable on the defense, but guys that are there right now that have had major success in the past. The Detroit Lions don't have any of that.
No.
and
the guys they do are free agents.
Right. Yeah.
Galladay and Aquara. It is unbelievable.
Romeo Okwara, who in his last year with the Giants priced himself out of the Giants' ability to keep him around. And I know a lot of Giants fans really loved Romeo Okwara, and he's been a real solid contributor to that defense.
It's a real philosophical debate that they're going to have to get into. It's a new regime with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. So just diving into the brass tacks here, they are $8 million over the cap at the moment, believe it or not. I don't know how. With Galladay and Aquara scheduled to be free agents, as well as Marvin Jones, Everson Griffin, Danny Amendola, and Duron Harmon, among other guys. Those are the big names. To me, there are some easy cut candidates. There's Desmond Trufant, Justin Coleman, Jesse James, Nick Williams, Danny Shelton, a lot of guys. They'll save $5-6 million here, $3 million there. They'll make their way under the cap again. I saw an interesting rumor. Something that I think they should explore. I would 100% explore the avenue of tagging and trading Kenny Galladay. You let him go. You get a 2022 compensatory third-round pick at the highest, which is fine. I think you get more at 2021. Yeah, I think you get more. I think you get a second or a third right now for Galladay. I know it's a tag, but if Miami gets him, they have the cap space to do it. They have the draft capital to do that. They can just keep tagging him and try to, with the intention of extending him, and hopefully it works out at a place like that. To me, I think Okwara should be more of a priority. I think Galladay kind of made his bed and kind of told everyone without saying it that he does not want to be with the Lions next year. I think Okwara, you at least have the sentiment of playing with his brother. Detroit gave him a shot, so you hope there. And you can't just give up 25-year-old double-digit sack guys and let them walk. I know Galladay's a home and grown guy, but I think he's more replaceable than Okwara at this point.
Well, he's obviously going to fetch more in a trade. He's younger. He's at a position that all the analytical people are drooling over. I know Okwara is a pass rusher, and pass rushers don't come around all that often, but he's not the elite level pass rusher that a lot of teams are looking for. Kenny Galladay is an elite wide receiver. So, there you mentioned a bunch of players that are easily cuttable. They'll end up getting under with enough space to make some moves, because this is obviously a team who made some contract signings that were a little questionable. But they're in complete rebuild mode under Dan Campbell. What is this offense going to look like next year under a Campbell regime?
I will throw out a scenario for you, because to me, we talked about the Stafford trade. I think getting Goff, I think it yielded them another high pick. Good for them. But to me, I think getting a guy like Goff is not what I'd want to do. If you could trade him again and get whatever, that's something I would explore. And we'll get into the Panthers next. But when you teeter at that guy that's average to below average and competent, but he's not going to win you any games, for me, the Lions just need to take their medicine. Go for a quarterback in 2022. Tank without making it super obvious. Maybe get your Case Keenum in there. Get your Cam Newton in there, because Anthony Lynn's offensive coordinator. Maybe you want to run the ball 50 times a game. I don't know. But with Goff, you might be like the Panthers and you're stuck in no man's land. You're competitive, but you're not. You're going to be in the hunt for a top quarterback, but you're not. Kind of where does Goff get you? I don't know. If you're the Lions, you know what I mean? Like if I'm looking at Campbell getting a 6-year deal, Holmes getting a 5-year deal, I'm like, all right, they're going to tear this entire thing down. They're going to suck next year. They're going to love it. They're going to build a good culture. They're going to get their quarterback next year, and then we're going to see what the lines are about. They're going to trim the fat this year. But Goff, it's kind of like, all right, are they going to tag Galladay and try to make it work and kind of compromise their cap situation? Are they going to kind of sign some of these rentals that got them in trouble, like in the last regime? So I need to see what these guys do. I think they're kind of at a crux. Like I mean, there's a big decision to make in kind of setting the tone for this regime.
If you had to make or take a guess right now, if you had to put your stamp on what they're going to do with Kenny Galladay, and I know we've explored the potential at a tag and trade. What do you think the ending turn of events is with Kenny Galladay?
They've had a year. They've had 2 years to try to extend him. He can't do anything if they tag him, but it's also a new regime that didn't draft him. So I'm going to say he hits free agency.
Yeah, I think the same. I just don't think that. And obviously, Kenny Galladay doesn't have a choice if they end up tagging him. But I think the positional value of the tag is going to make it very difficult for them if they're not able to find a trading partner. That they're going to need to do that.
I think Miami's the only one that really sticks out to me. Because they have the cap room. Other than that, though,
I think the Jets make a ton of sense as well.
But do they want to give up a second-round pick kind of early in their rebuild? Because Miami's further along. Let's call them a playoff team. That's basically what they are. I think they can afford to make that move. They got another second-round pick. For the Jets, I mean, they trade Darnold and they get more picks. That makes sense. But the Jets, I mean, he is 24 too. Let's not act like it's a rental. I mean, he's a good long-term solution too. So yeah, I could definitely see the Jets too. But there aren't that many landing spots that kind of fit that criteria, like you just said.
Yeah, in terms of a trade, I think there are more teams that'll be in on him in free agency than there will be in terms of giving up assets for that. At number 8. The Carolina Panthers. What's the status of these Panthers right now?
So they're interesting. They got a decent amount of cap room. I mean, they've been cutting guys left and right for you know who. They got $31 million in the cap. Guys who are scheduled to hit free agency are Curtis Samuel, Taylor Moton, and Russell Okung. They've cut Kawan Short and Trey Boston within the last week. This is another team that's in an interesting spot, for sure. And they clearly don't like Teddy Bridgewater very much.
Well, see, the contract that they signed Bridgewater to me was it was a 1 year because there is potentially outs after this year. And especially after next year.
He's a $22 million hit this year, though, and he's a dead cap hit of $20 million if they move on. Like, I mean, I don't mind getting Teddy Bridgewater last year, but signing him to a $63 million contract I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean that was they overpaid for those 5 wins in New Orleans the year before.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a team though that I think is primed to be in the running to move up for one of the quarterbacks that they want. They have cap space. They have enough, and hey, this is a team that also may be a Deshaun Watson, and I heard that Deshaun Watson gave a list of teams that he would be okay, that he would approve being traded to. Was that list actually made public?
I've heard about that too. I don't think so. And also, I don't even think the Texans have returned calls from teams inquiring about Watson. They've been firm.
Yeah.
Casario's been firm in saying that they're not trading him right now. They're not even exploring that, which makes sense. I mean, like we talked about, I think they're going to wait till the finish line here, unless they have to. I don't see something happening before the draft, which is in 2 months. I just don't see it. I do. I mean, if they were to explore it, I do think the Panthers are making it very clear. Owner Dave Tepper's made very clear that he wants a stud quarterback in there. And I think the easiest avenue to do that, as you just said, is to trade up. I think Miami's an easy trade partner, or Philly even is a trade partner to look at. But yeah, I think they got their eyes on one of these four. Well, not Lawrence, but one of the other three quarterbacks for sure. Moving up.
Free agency. This is a team that, I mean, they have obviously the need at quarterback. It's not as dire because they do have Bridgewater in-house. But I think with the writing is on the wall that they're going to look to upgrade there. They need help on the offensive line, both inside and outside, more outside than inside. So if we do see them make a move for someone else, maybe a Sam Darnold, maybe they're able to use that number 8 pick on a tackle, whether or not they're moving up for a Penei Sewell or they're looking at a Raeshawn Slater. What other areas do you think that they're going to be looking to address?
Yeah, so I mean, I think Taylor Moton has to come back, and they may have to tag him, which would be at like a $17 million hit or so, $18 million hit, which you have to bite that bullet. He's a homegrown guy, and he's a nice young tackle. I think he'll come back. Curtis Samuel, I think he's gone. He's a luxury to them almost. He's their third receiver. He's a nice weapon, but I think he is due for a decent payday at another team in free agency. He's a guy you're going to have to let go. But as you said, I think O-line, especially if they use that top pick to get a quarterback, they have to shore up that offensive line. And defense, I think after that it's all defense at every single level. They got some nice pieces, but in general, they really struggled last year. The D-line has some nice stuff. Brian Birds flashes a lot. Utir Gross-Mateos has great pressure rates for limited snaps. Derek Brown, I think, had 13 or 14 QB hits as a nose tackle. I mean, there's some stuff there, but other than that, second level's a mess. Back end's not great either. So to me, I think after your first pick, it's best player available on defense. I'm skewing probably more towards the secondary, but they can't be that picky. It's just not that great a team right now.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that they're still even going to be considering a pick on defense that early, considering what they did in the draft last year, devoting every single pick to the defensive side of the ball. I mean, that was coming from you look at Rule, and he comes from this school that is just filled with offensive firepower in down at Baylor. And that's literally all they've ever done. They've only cared about offense for about 15 years now. I think a lot of people thought that they were going to just go back to that offensive side, and it was just all defense.
Yeah, I mean, I know hindsight's 2020. You had Okung and Moton on the outsides last year, but I mean, picking a nose tackle at, what was it, 7? I think Derek Brown was the 7th pick. Weird pick to me. I mean, I like Derek Brown. I think he's going to be really good, but like, they could have got one of those 3 tackles last year after Andrew Thomas. I mean, I don't know. You bump Okung inside, and you feel a lot better about your front. Now you still don't have your quarterback is a huge question mark, and your offensive line is probably going to get worse before it gets better if you lose one of these tackles to free agency. So I don't know. I think it could be another tough year for Carolina.
And you got to feel bad for someone like a Christian McCaffrey who dealt obviously with the injuries last year, missed 13 games, and now is coming back to what looks to be a worse situation on the offensive line. Hopefully for him, they get that upgrade in quarterback, because any quarterback is going to be able to utilize Christian McCaffrey as a weapon. Look at Cam Newton. Everyone said Cam Newton will never be able to check down to Christian McCaffrey, and McCaffrey, I think it was 93 catches in his rookie year. Unbelievable.
Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. All right, at number 9, the Denver Broncos. What is the offseason status for these Broncos?
So, like Carolina, they got $31 million under the cap. I mean, they got a lot of big time free agents. Von Miller he has a club option that they could pick up. He is technically under contract for 2021, but they could save $18 million if they cut him.
And all the writing on the wall is that he's on his way out.
Mm-hmm. Justin Simmons, of course, he's one of the big time free agents this year. Kareem Jackson, Shelby Harris, Tim Patrick, and Philip Lindsay. Philip Lindsay and Patrick are both restricted free agents, I should point out. But I mean, there's a lot of talent for a team that isn't that talented altogether. But yeah, I mean, as you said with Von Miller, I think the decision's easy, even though they got a lot of cap room. I mean, they paid the man $23 million for shattering his ankle last year, and not to. I mean, that's the business of football. But I just, unless they can find a way to get his cap number down a lot significantly, I'm cutting ties with Von Miller.
Yeah, I think that his best days are clearly behind him. And, I mean, Von Miller, when you think of pass rush over the past 10 years, he's got to be one of the 2 or 3 names that come to mind. He was just such a dominant force for so long. Where do they go? Because they have Bradley Chubb, who they spent another high pick on, and everyone said, all right, well, this is going to be the new tandem in the NFL. You got Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. They haven't been able to stay on the field together at all. Chubb especially. I mean, I think he's been a major disappointment so far, considering the amount of capital they had to spend to take him.
Yeah, a lot of people viewed him as like the top 2, top 3 guy in that draft too. So yeah, I mean, you're definitely right there. They haven't gotten much from him. I mean, to me, again, similar to like Carolina, they're just old on defense. I think they really got to look at bringing in some real youth in there and keeping a guy like Simmons in there, someone who does show promise. Each day, it's looking more and more like Drew Lock is going to be the quarterback there next year, which it is what it is. I do think it's a bad situation how awful that offensive line was last year. And they could try to patch it up in free agency in the draft. It's not going to get that much better, but the emergence of Garrett Bowles was a great thing for them last year. Simmons has to come back. He has to, whether you tag him or extend him, he has to come back. They just released AJ Boye, freeing up $11 million. I think they go corner with their first pick. Maybe they eye a trade down, but I think they get the corner that they want. It's very possible that every single guy between Surtain, Fairley, J.C. Horn, all those guys are going to be there at 9. So maybe they want to trade back, maybe they don't. But I think that's the position I look at in their first pick, and then after that, it's O-line and it's more defense.
Yeah, this could very well be the first defensive pick in the draft. Is down here at 9 with the Broncos. Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Drew Lock. I mean, what is there to say about Drew Lock? I had Drew Lock. I think as like my QB8 the year he came out. I just did not see what other people saw in Drew Lock, and obviously he has not lived up to. He's a lot of talk, and I know that the camera loves to follow him on the sidelines because he likes to have fun, but there's just no production. This kid just. I just don't see it. He is not the future of the position for this team, and unfortunately, they have so many holes in other places that the fact that they have Drew Lock in house probably it's a Band-Aid rather than exposing the wound that is the quarterback position of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame because I love their weapons. I think their receivers are awesome. I mean, they're going to get Cortland Sutton back next year. Tim Patrick was great this year. Judy struggled a little bit, but he still had 900 receiving yards, you know? I mean, and he hits a lot.
So I actually dug into a little bit about Jerry Judy and his quote-unquote struggles.
I think it's overblown.
His completion percentage towards him was in the mid-50s. And of those 45% or so incompletions in passes that were targeting Jerry Judy, it was over 17% of those were uncatchable balls.
Yeah, I mean, you cut that in half. That's another 9 catches for him. I know he had drop issues, but it's overblown. I mean, he was 21 years old as a rookie last year, right? I mean,
you know what? We knew it was coming because he had drop issues at Alabama too.
Exactly. I mean, he's a disgusting route runner. I mean, like Emmanuel Sanders, like these established veteran receivers are talking up Jerry Judy, saying, "Yeah, I'm learning from Judy. That's how good he is as a route runner." So I'm a believer in his skill set. Tim Patrick was great last year. Cortland Sutton's coming back. I haven't even mentioned KJ Hamler, who was a nice spark plug for them. I mean, their backfield's great. They got to fix the line, but like, don't make a bad situation worse. Like if they were to reach for a guy like Mack Jones at 9, that's just like that's not going to fix it, especially him not being a mobile, out of structure guy. With that offensive line, I think that would be a disaster too. So to me, I'm just looking at every other place in the roster. I give Locke another year. I mean, with my eyes on 2022, as simple as that.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot from the Broncos this year. They could definitely be in the Sam Howell, Spencer Rattler
sweepstakes
here.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, at number 10, you have America's team.
Not last year.
No.
I watched like 2 Cowboy games last year because they're so boring. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because of Andy Dalton.
Yeah, exactly.
They certainly weren't boring the first 4.5 games of the season, where Dak Prescott was on pace to throw for 6,000 yards. But the Dallas Cowboys are sitting there. They do have the 10th pick. And what is the offseason status right now for these Cowboys?
So they are $19 million under the cap, but you could say goodbye to that because Dak Prescott will be tagged. I doubt they work out an extension between now and March 9th. So that's going to be $37 million on the books. Sean Lee, Cam Irving, Joe Looney, Aldon Smith, Chidobe Awuzie are all due for free agency. So, again, they're going to have to work some magic here. Jerry Jones is going to have to work some magic here. I think the easiest avenue to doing that is restructuring Amari Cooper's contract. They free up $14 million that way. I think Anthony Brown's an easy cut candidate. They save $6 million there. The only 2 guys that I really think they maybe look to re-sign in that group besides Dak are Joe Looney and Awuzie, just because of how scarce their secondary is. And for Looney, I think that's another easy decision if they could bring him back on maybe 80 cents on the dollar, a little bit of a discount. But their offensive line was a mess last year. They get back Tyron Smith and La'el Collins from injury, but I don't know if we can really count on them anymore. So to me, similar to the Broncos, I think they need an influx of talent at defense. It needs to be all defense early on in the draft, and then O-line. O-line for them. That's how they made their money. They can't let Dak get hurt again. That's my outlook on the Cowboys. They're not that flexible cap-wise. They can't really spend that much in free agency.
No, and that's the tolls of having a franchise quarterback 2 years in a row. It just takes up so much of your ability to maneuver.
And paying $14 million to Zeke next year.
Yeah, well, especially when he may not even be the best running back on the team.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like Tony Pollard as a player.
Oh yeah, and he'll always get 8 carries a game as long as Zeke is healthy, and I hate it because he is better.
Yeah. So you mentioned obviously I think that the two biggest points of emphasis for them picking at number 10. To me, it's either offensive tackle if they end up falling in love with someone, and I know I keep bringing up the name, but Raeshawn Slater. This is a kid who I think is going to be a terrific offensive tackle and cornerback. And I think they're going to have at least one of Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain sitting there at number 10, or if they like the tackle. What if all three are there? What if they have their choice of cornerback or Slater? Do you think the overall talent that either of the cornerbacks present to them are going to be enough to hold off taking Slater there at 10?
Yeah, I love Farley. If he's there at 10, I think that's an easy pick, and I think he complements Trayvon Diggs really well. Diggs is a technician, and I think Farley fits that mold of a cornerback one. He's so athletic and twitchy. He reminds me of Byron Jones, who they had let go.
Yeah.
They're not going to get an elite pass rusher at 10. So the way to alleviate that, get great cover guys. I think that is the easiest way to patch up their defense for now. Nothing wrong with getting 2 big-time corners. I think Diggs has a chance to be special. He's just – it was a tough spot for him last year, and I don't think he's necessarily a corner one. I would lean towards corner. I think I would lean towards corner because you could get a guy in round 2 like Tevin Jenkins, like Jalen Mayfield, one of those guys fall. As we talked about, it's so deep at tackle. I think corner, there's a big drop-off after the top 4.
Yeah. All right, moving on to number 11, the New York Football Giants. And why don't you let me know what the status of my Giants is heading into this offseason?
I knew it, but I kind of forgot. I can't believe it. You want to guess what your cap space is, or do you know it?
I'm seeing 18.
$900K on over the cap, $900,000. That is unbelievable to me. So they're 900,000 under the. What's up?
I had seen 18 in one spot, and I think that was with the potential cutting of Golden Tate.
I was gonna say, so yeah.
On Spotrac, as of right now, they're at $8 million under the cap.
Okay, so over the cap, they're 900,000. And like you said, I think Tate, easy cut candidate. Zeitler, easy cut candidate. Levi Tololo. I think they might restructure Bradbury if they really want to free up a lot of space to re-sign a guy like Leonard Williams or Dalvin Tomlinson. The only other big free agent, he's not necessarily a big free agent, but Cam Fleming, who logged a lot of starts in the offensive line.
Cam Fleming won't be back. I can tell you that much.
I was gonna say I think they like their young guys there. So yeah, I mean, like the Cowboys, they're not going to be very active in free agency. They're just not. I think Leonard Williams has to come back. I would prioritize him over Tomlinson, even though he's going to be a higher price tag. I think Williams. I mean, he might be their best player on defense last year, besides Bradbury.
Oh, he was spectacular. And I think one of the routes that they can go, because the franchise tag hit is so much lower for an interior defensive lineman than an edge rusher. I think they try and sign Leonard Williams to a longer term deal. The numbers that I keep seeing are 4 years, anywhere between 75 and 85 million.
And you backload it just because you kind of hedge your bet, but I mean,
you're expecting will
go up.
The cap's going to go up over the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can't work anything out, then give the tag to Dalvin Tomlinson, because as explosive as Leonard Williams was at points throughout the season, Dalvin Tomlinson was their most consistent defensive lineman on a play-in, play-out basis. Logan Ryan was actually quoted. He said, Leonard makes all the plays that stand out. Dalvin makes all the plays that don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a really good way of putting it. He's just a really consistent force up there. He's great against the run. He demands double teams. I mean, there's a lot of value to that. What do you want to see them do at 11?
I mean, it has to be pass catcher. Whether it be one of the big three wide receivers or Kyle Pitts. I'm not sure if Pitts makes it all the way down. Yeah. But there's a chance. I mean, because the fact that in the past 51 years, we've only seen 13 tight ends get selected in the top 10. There's a chance that Pitts falls down just because he has that tight end name associated to him. He's not going to be utilized as a tight end, a prototypical tight end in the NFL.
No. And we keep talking about it. I mean, the people that box him in as a tight end have it wrong. I mean, when you look at receiving cores now, it is about complementing skill sets. It's basketball. It's positionless football at this point. I mean, you want fast guys, you want big guys, you want your chain movers, you want your intermediate route runners, and some guys can do both. And some guys only have one skill set, but you try to fulfill all those skills within your receiving core. And Kyle Pitts checks a ton of those boxes. I mean, he can be an X. He can go in the slot. He can go in line. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator's dream. So, I mean, I'm a huge Kyle Pitts guy.
And as I keep saying, Kyle Pitts is either going to be bigger, faster, or bigger and faster than anyone who's going to be covering him. His tape is one of my favorite tapes that I've watched in quite some time. He just, I mean, the way that he gets open, I mean, it's Travis Kelce.
He's running away from corners in the SEC every week. Yeah. It's insane. I mean, he's working Derek Stingley on LSU. He's going to be a top 9 pick next year. Like these are big time guys that Pitts is. He's making them look like they're nobody. He's making it look like they're playing the Sun Belt in week 2. I mean, it's crazy, like what this guy's doing, and he's 20 years old. I mean, the sky is truly the limit for this kid. I think he's a top 3, top 5 talent in this draft. I really do.
Yeah, I absolutely think so too. Obviously, if I have to prioritize, Jamar Chase is going to be the guy that I want the most, because the Giants need an X. They have plenty of Z's. They have plenty of slots. They don't have an X. Jamar Chase, to me, is the only pure X at the top of this draft. I think Kyle Pitts can play it? Yeah, he can play it 'cause he's not going to play it
No.
60 snaps a game.
Mm-hmm.
So Jamar Chase is at the top of my wish list. I don't see any way possible.
Who do you like more between Waddle and Devonta?
I like Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I mean, he's so explosive. I mean, I think you can mold him into an X as a one-on-one beater. And
Yeah.
I think if you inserted Waddle or Jamar Chase, this receiving core makes a lot more sense now.
Yep. Devonta Smith, to me, seems, like an enhanced Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
He's
a really good way for him.
An enhanced Darius Slayton. He does the same things that those guys do, at least this past year. But what everyone has to remember is that it wasn't until Jalen Waddle went down with a broken ankle that Devonta Smith had this breakout. Jalen Waddle was all along. He was always the higher ranked prospect of the two. And I just don't see the fact that we didn't see much from Jalen Waddle this year change my mind that much. So I do have, at least from a Giants standpoint, I think the top three wide receiver rankings would go Chase, Waddle, Smith. There are other teams that Devonta Smith may make the most sense out of the three. So
yeah,
but I think he's, even though you have the LSU connection, if Cincy doesn't have Penei Sewell there and they decide to go wide receiver at number 5, I think Devonta Smith makes the most sense there because they already have Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, who I think are more along the lines of a Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
And wrapping up the top 12 is the San Francisco 49ers. Now, this is a real intriguing team going.
Yeah, they are. They really are. So they are $13 million under the cap. Their free agent list is pretty long. We mentioned Trent Williams. Richard Sherman slated to be a free agent. I don't think he's coming back. Solomon Thomas, Jaquiski Tart, Kyle Juszczyk, Kerry Hyder, Jason Verrett. I mean, these are some big-time guys. A lot of contributing guys in that list. And I think, I mean, at this point, they're kind of finally experiencing the Super Bowl hangover, whatever you want to call it. But when all these guys are going to get their paydays, it was almost delayed with how young their team was 2 years ago going to the Super Bowl. But now you're seeing a lot of these guys slated for free agency. Jimmy G, like Locke, each day is looking more and more like he's going to be their starting quarterback. I thought they should have been really aggressive in the Stafford sweepstakes, but you didn't really hear their name floated around at all. The list of quarterbacks that they can acquire is getting thinner and thinner. I don't think they're not going to have a stud at 12. They could trade up, but that's going to take a ton. And depending on who they lose, I mean, they might have a lot of needs here. I mean, if they lose both their corners, they got to probably be eyeing a corner of 12. Their offensive line is an issue, especially their interior offensive line is a big issue. And I think their D-line, I mean, they get Bosa back next year, but I don't know who's on the other side of him. I don't know who the complementary rusher is. So it's like they have Super Bowl aspirations, but there are a ton of question marks to fill. They have to re-sign Trent Williams. And if they do, if they end up tagging him, that's 16, 17 million right there. So right there, they're even basically in the cap. So you cut Jimmy G, you free up 23 million. I think Weston Richburg is an easy cut candidate. You cut him, you save 5 million. He hasn't logged a snap since 2019. D Ford, that contract is just awful. I mean, he's been injured, so not their fault necessarily, but he's a huge hindrance to them. So yeah, I mean, what do you think their direction here is?
So, I mean, I think they are low key, and as crazy it may sound, an interesting landing spot for a Deshaun Watson. Now,
Yeah, I mean, I would love that.
what if you're the GM of the 49ers and the Texans say, all right, we've come to the conclusion Deshaun Watson is not going to play no matter what we say as a Houston Texan. If they say, we'll trade you Deshaun Watson for number 12 and Nick Bosa, what are you doing?
Yes. Especially him coming off the ACL. I mean,
to be honest, I think that's an extremely fair offer.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll see it on Twitter, like Niners fans, we can't give up Bosa. Well, you're getting Deshaun Watson. So, you're getting a top 3 player in football. So yeah. I think that's easily worth – and you have your bookend left tackle. You have Trent Williams. You're going to have a top 3 offensive mind with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, to be honest, I would be willing to throw them Deebo Samuel if they want, because I still Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. But anyway, if I get to keep all of them, that's a top 3 offense right there. It just is. I mean,
I think Deebo, a Deebo Samuel, Deshaun Watson combination.
Oh my God! I think Ayuk would be unbelievable. I mean, that offense doesn't have a flaw. They would have to shore up their interior offensive line somehow. I mean, maybe they look in the second, third round to do that. Their defense is going to have a lot of questions, but they're going to put up 30-plus every single game with that offense.
Yeah. All right. It is mock draft time. So we will. Yeah, I love this. All right. So we are going. We've gone through picks 1 through 12 so far, and so those are going to be the 12 teams that we do in this mock. So we are going to start off. I will do the odds. You will do the evens, and the easiest pick of the draft. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence, quarterback, Clemson.
No surprises there. So with the real first pick of the draft for the Jets, I've seen Zach Wilson slated a lot to go to the Jets. I understand the fit. He's coming from a wide zone variation at BYU. But I'm going with Fields. I just think he has a lot more upside. I love his arm talent. He's bigger. He played better competition, was more dominant for 2 years. So I'm going with Justin Fields here at number 2.
All right, so now the biggest decision that the Dolphins will have to make is whether or not they're going to go wide receiver or whether or not they're going to go tackle. Either one of them makes sense at number 3 when you consider the value of the players they would be picking. I have Penei Sewell as my number 2 overall player in this draft. But I think the spot that they're going to be picking, especially in the second round, and remember they do have the number 18 pick as well, which could very easily be someone like a Rashad Bateman. But I think 18 and 35, 36 are prime spots for an offensive tackle. That's the range I'm starting to see them all go. So I'm gonna get the guy that I want, and even though you have the Alabama connection with either Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith, as much as it pains me as a Giants fan, I'm taking Jamar Chase off the board here.
Chase and Parker and Gesicki, that's a nice core right there. I like that. So I'm up with the Falcons. We talked about this last week. I mean, they have a big decision. I think quarterback makes the most sense here. They have their version of Alex Smith and Mahomes. Now they get Matt Ryan in the system that got him an MVP in 2016. And there's a great chance to mentor Trey Lance. I think he is made for the wide zone scheme. How athletic he is, I think the experience is a concern for me, but he gets to go behind a former MVP. He gets a dynamic offense when he does get to step in year 2. I think with Arthur Smith, Matt Ryan's tutelage, Calvin Ridley. This could be really special. I'm going with Trey Lance at number 4.
Wow. So the guy who a lot of people have as the number 2 quarterback is slipping to the 4th one off the board. Well, it's not going to be. Oh, I know what you're doing. You're trying to get Zach Wilson to fall to number 6 to the Eagles.
Do I? I don't know. I am doing these picks as if I was the GM of these teams. I'm not compromising the integrity of the mock draft for my Eagles. I'm not. We're so far away from that. We are so far away from that.
Because with the Dolphins, I'm not taking a quarterback. With the Bengals, I'm not taking a quarterback. So you can manipulate this draft any way you want for your Eagles. So I'm going to take Zach Wilson here. No. Eagles, obviously, this is the dream scenario for them. Their biggest need is offensive tackle. They get the number 1 offensive tackle, the number 2 player on my board. They get Penei Sewell.
That is a dream. Number 6, my Eagles. I am actually gonna make a little trade.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a trade with myself. I am gonna have the Panthers jump the Lions 2-6, Eagles back to 8. So I'll just throw the Eagles a 3rd-round pick this year because I think that's probably fair to move up 2 spots. Eagles are still going to get the guy that I wanted 8, I think. And the Panthers, they get Zach Wilson here. I think they get their quarterback. They get their answer. And I think he's a great match in Joe Brady's team. I mean, I haven't seen this mocked up too much, but, I mean, he ran a lot of air raid concepts at BYU. He could throw the football down the field. He can play out of structure. Couldn't be further away from Teddy Bridgewater. So I think they pull the trigger and go with Zach Wilson here.
Wow, love that pick. All right, so now we have the Lions, and they could very easily go with a cornerback. That they have their choice of either Farley or Surtain. But they're good. What we were discussing earlier, I think both of their wide receivers are going to be gone next year. There's going to be no Kenny Golladay. There's going to be no Marvin Jones. They're going to need someone to get this fan base excited. And Jalen Waddle, I think, would get them excited, but they need some recency bias. So they're going to take Devonta Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama, and start rebuilding through that.
I like it. All right, so my Eagles are on the board from the trade back with myself. I'm going to go with Pitts here. I am going to go with Pitts here. I think the Eagles are definitely going to move on from Zach Ertz, and I just think the Eagles need good football players at this point. I think they just need an influx of talent. I think they can't be that greedy here, and they got to go best player available. I think you can build an offense around Kyle Pitts. You can put him anywhere you want. Sirianni is well-versed in tight end usage at Indy. I like the fit here. I'm going with Kyle Pitts at 8.
I probably should have traded up with the Giants to number 7 to leapfrog the Eagles, who somehow traded back and still ended up with Kyle Pitts. My God, as a Giant fan, I don't want him anywhere near the division. Yes. So now I'm on the board with the Denver Broncos at number 9, and as we expected, it's offense in picks 1 through 8. They're going to have their choice of defenders. I think that if a quarterback falls to 9, there's a potential they could go that route, but they're not here right now. Mack Jones is way too early for a Mack Jones, so I'm going to go with, and as I know, early in draft season, we saw Gregory Rousseau, the defensive end from Miami, be mocked in the top 10 quite often. And his stock, he's just slowly falling down boards. This was a very common landing spot for Gregory Rousseau earlier on. And while I think it makes sense I think the biggest need right now is corner, and the value is right there. I'm going to go Caleb Farley, cornerback out of Florida.
I like it. I think he has a chance to be a lockdown corner. Screwing up my Cowboys pick. Thank you very much. So with this pick, I could go with Surtain, but I don't think I'm going to do that. As I said, I think he's really similar to Trayvon Diggs. I think they could hold down the second round to get a guy like Asante Samuel or another corner. I'm going to go Raeshawn Slater. I mean, if La'el Collins does turn out to be healthy, I can bump him into guard. He's so versatile. I just think he's a great piece to have on their offensive line. And this is when the Cowboys were good, is when they had such a dominant offensive line. They need to get back to that. I'm going with Slater for the 10th pick.
Oh, makes my job easy. Jalen Waddle, wide receiver, Alabama, goes to the New York Giants. He's going to be able to pick up the X wide receiver role and just add so much dynamic play that to a wide receiver group that needs more explosiveness, needs someone who's going to be able to dictate how a defense is able to defend. And it's going to be better for Saquon Barkley to have someone like a Jalen Waddle playing outside to keep those safeties a little bit higher and out of the box.
Alrighty, so final pick of our mock draft. I got the Niners up at 12. I think they're a prime candidate to trade back, as we talked about. I think they very well could be filling a lot of roles, a lot of starting spots potentially on this roster. But making the 12th pick, I'm going to go with J.C. Horn, actually. They could lose.
Over 10.
I am. So my rationale there for J.C. Horn to San Fran, I think he's more versatile. I think you can move him inside. He's really good in the run game. He's a great tackler. And I think with the departure of Robert Saleh, they did promote from within with D'Amico Ryans. They're still going to play a lot of zone coverage. It's going to be a lot of cover 3 stuff. I think J.C. Horn's physicality, tackling, ability to move in that star position, because they could lose Kwan Williams too, their nickel back. I think this is also a great fit for J.C. Horn. I like Surtain too, but I just think Horn's a better fit for the 49ers here.
Wow, the first real big surprise of the draft. And
yeah.
All right, so that is going to wrap it up for the show. Again, make sure you're following us. Our Stern 33. Derek is at Derek Mountain. Make sure you're checking out backsportpage.com. Got some great NFL draft coverage that is coming your way starting this week. So make sure you are tuning into that. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Derek, let's do this again next week. Maybe we'll do another maybe 1 through 18. Maybe things change over the next week or so. But and maybe I'll take the evens, and you'll take the odds, and we'll see how things differ.
I like it. I'll probably make more trades with myself on whichever team I just want to stack up. We'll see how it goes, but let's. I love the chaos. 1 to 18. That would get crazy. I love it.
All right. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you next week.